In this lesson, we're going to talk about controlling a while loop or a while iteration statement using what's called a sentinel. In previous lessons, we talked about while loops that use a counter, performing an action a number of times until a limit is hit through a condition set on the while statement. Each time the while statement executes, the counter is incremented by 1, and that is checked before the statement executes to see if anything should be executed at all. Sentinel-controlled iteration is a bit different. Essentially, a sentinel allows you to run a loop indefinitely until the user or some other action in the application tells the loop to stop. I will write a quick application that talks about me getting a day off from work. Multiple days off, in fact. I'm going fishing. I may go fishing for a week. I may go fishing for 5 days. It will depend on when the boss calls me back into the office. So what I will do is write an application that calculates the average number of fish I've caught per day throughout my vacation, which could be, again, 3 days, 5 days, who knows. But as the user, I'm going to tell the application when I'm not on vacation anymore. Once that happens, the application will provide me some statistics on my fishing adventure. So let's write a little bit of pseudocode. Our first line will be to tell the user that they are going fishing. Next, we will write a while loop. While user is still on fishing adventure, ask the user how many fish were caught that day. Now, when we talk about a sentinel, we need to determine whether or not the user is not on vacation anymore. So in this case, when the user types in the word stop, we know the user is no longer on vacation, and we shouldn't include any more data in the average. If user enters number, add to fish average. Otherwise, if user enters stop the average and give user fish stats. Then we want to obviously give the user the fish stats. I should take this out of the loop. I was incorrect in typing it here. When we're done, we give the user the fish stats. So this is our pseudocode for the application. Let's go ahead and copy this into our wonderful Visual Studio. Again, we will paste it in as a comment, as we've done with other pieces of pseudocode. So here is the application we are going to write. So first, we will tell the user they're going fishing. Console.writeLine. Wow, you're on vacation. Let's catch some fish. Let's continue. we will first write our while loop. But wait, there's a problem. What's our condition here? Well, we want to see if the user triggers the stop condition writing the word stop. So before we write that loop, I had talked about in a previous lesson Boolean values, the bool type. Bool is stopped equals false. This will be the Sentinel condition tracker. If a user types in the word stop, we will change this to true and the while loop will stop. So while is stopped not equal to true. There's also a simpler way to write this statement. We will go over that later. So, we've told the user they are going fishing. We've created what will be the Sentinel tracker. And we've created the while loop. While is stopped does not equal to true. So while the user is still on the fishing adventure. We also want to keep track of how many days I've gone fishing. So we will create an integer value. Days fishing equals 0. Oh, still missing something. I need to track the average number of fish. So int total fish equals 0. We will track the total number of fish and divide it by the number of days fishing. All right. So we will ask the user console.writeLine how many fish did you catch today? And we will read from the user int today's fish equals int.parse console.readLine. Now, I have noticed a problem, and I'm going to backtrack a bit. I have not taught you how to handle inputs of varying types. I initially said if the user enters stop the average calculation. In lieu of that, what I will do is not parse this initially. What I will do is first set a string called input value and read the line directly. Eventually I will parse this. So I will replace the read line in parse with the input value. I want to look for the Sentinel. The Sentinel will be in all uppercase stop here. So if I say if input value equals stop, then we set is stopped to true and do nothing else. Now, otherwise, we will parse the input value and input it into the today's fish. So else, we'll take this code here. Int today's fish equals int.parse input value. And then we will add it to the total fish. Total fish equals total fish plus today's fish. And I will see here, I don't actually need this much code. instead of creating a today's fish variable, I can simply just put the int.parse in this line. You're going to notice as you write code, you may find redundant pieces. We can collapse these two lines together into one, and it's easier to read and it saves memory, space, and processing time. So here I take total fish and I set it to be total fish plus the input value from the user parsed as an integer. Now I want to add another day fishing. Another day has gone by +1. Alright, we've passed another day of fishing. And let's look back at our pseudocode. Alright, so we've told the user they are going fishing. While the user is on the fishing adventure, ask the user how many fish were caught. If the user enters a number, we added it to the average. If the user enters stop, we stopped the calculation. Alright, so let's look at our Sentinel here. First, we've said the condition on the while is stopped is not equal to true. And we initially have is stopped equal to false. If the user enters the value stop, we are setting is stopped as true, and we don't perform anything in the else block, meaning we come back up to the start of the while. If the user did not enter stop, we execute the else block. We add the day's fish value to total fish. We add another day to day's fishing. So now when I enter stopped, is stopped becomes true, which means this statement is no longer true, and I break out of the while block. Now the last part of our pseudocode was to give user the fish stats. So here, console.writeLine, you spent, and we're going to use string interpolation, you spent days fishing. All right. Now we want to say the total fish you caught total fish over those days. Now we want to tell the user the average. On average, you caught per day. So after the loop is done, we're going to tell our user you spent blank days fishing. You caught blank fish over those days. And on average, you caught blank total fish divided by days fishing, fish per day. Let's try the application. Wow, you're on vacation. Let's catch some fish. How many fish did you catch today? Well, I haven't been called back into the office, so I caught 10 fish today. Oh, day 2, still not called back in. Caught 5. And, well, I guess I'm called back into the office today, so day 3 didn't happen. Stop. All right. So you spent 2 days fishing. You caught 15 fish over those days. On average, you caught 7 fish per day. Now, it did what we wanted it to do. So I'm going to add a little bit of extra fun into this application. So if we want to show the decimal value of the number, we need to look at types. So instead of just evaluating this in the string interpolation statement here, we will create a new double precision floating point number, or a double average fish equals total fish divided by days fishing, and then we will show the double value in here, and we'll start it again. Same entries, 10 on my first day, 5 on my second day, and I was called into work to fix the broken email server, and we still see 7. Well, if you flip to 5.10.7 and 5.10.6 in the book, it talks about casting. So a little bit of an advanced topic here. These are integers. When you divide an integer by an integer in C# or C++ or anything else, you get an integer, which means it's going to drop the decimal point. So I will cast this explicitly as a double. All right, so what I'm saying here is take this value but show it to me as a double precision floating point number. We'll go ahead and run this again. 10, 5, stop. And excellent. We have properly cast our types. We've converted from an int to a double. We've performed the proper division on those two integers to get a value that includes a decimal point. So this is how Sentinel controlled iteration works. There's many more examples, but again, it's very important in your pseudocode that you specify what the Sentinel is. In this case, when I enter stop, I want to stop processing, and I want to evaluate the statistics and show them to the user.